course, we start with our big story here. 7 of the leading Republican presidential candidates taking the stage at the second primary debate tonight. They are Doug Burgum, Chris Christie, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Tim Scott. Skipping that debate again tonight, the Republican frontrunner Donald Trump. So joining us now here from Simi Valley is the deputy campaign manager for Ron DeSantis, David Polanski. And David, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate your time. It's, of course, a huge night for Ron DeSantis, who didn't really make the leap and have that moment at the last debate that I hear a lot of people were hoping for from him. Do you think he will get it tonight?
Well, thank you. First, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on. And look, debates and campaigns are about long-term strategies and continual momentum. They're not about moments. We've seen a lot of that in this race. People come and go. Ron DeSantis and the campaign is built for longevity, meaning our eye is on the prize in January 15th in Iowa, January 23rd in New Hampshire, and then heading into South Carolina from there. So our goal tonight is really to take advantage of the absence of the former president and use that void to drive our message. And our message is pretty clear. The country's in decline. Joe Biden has helped lead it, but you know what? So have Republicans and Democrats in Washington. But most importantly for us is the opportunity to tell people our vision to reverse that decline, and most importantly, what the governor has done in Florida to prove that he can get that done. That's on the economy, that's on immigration, that's on crime. It's even combating COVID and government overreach. And so we're excited about tonight, again, not looking for specific moments, but an opportunity in that void to continue to drive our message.
It's interesting to me that you say you want to take advantage of Trump not being there, because you hear so often, we've even heard from Pence and, of course, Chris Christie, that Donald Trump should be taking part in this debate. So how exactly does that work to your advantage?
Well, look, number one, anytime there's one less candidate, there is more of an opportunity to speak. But number two, the former president is he likes to drive unusual messages and doesn't really rely on his record, but, sometimes maybe fudges the facts. And so getting into that kind of debate right now is, that will come potentially down the road. But right now, what these candidates, and specifically Ron DeSantis in particular, wants to do is continue to introduce themselves to this electorate. Donald Trump has near universal name identification with Republicans across the country, and Ron DeSantis has high recognition with voters. But now what he needs to do is be able to fill in the blanks and tell people about his record, his story, being the only veteran in the race, not just that's on stage, but in the entire race. And those are issues and messages that you can use a night like this to drive home. And I'll just point to the fact, by the way, you look even back in history, back in 2015, in heading into the 2016 Iowa caucus, when the former president, decided to decline to participate in that Iowa debate, it had lasting long-term political implications for him. You didn't feel at that moment, maybe not the next day, but that helped Ted Cruz defeat him in Iowa. And we are very confident that the more we get to drive our message, and then the more the former president hides from these debates, the more of an opportunity we have, and he will pay a political price for it.
Okay, David, let's talk about this poll here. Our colleagues at 538 partnered with the Washington Post and Ipsos for this new poll of likely Republican voters, and it shows that they have the highest expectations for DeSantis tonight, along with Ramaswamy and Haley. So sometimes that can be a dangerous place to be here. Is the governor feeling the pressure? I know you say it's not about moments, but sometimes for voters it is.
I think, I think when you talk about voters, right now we're solely focused on Iowa caucus goers and primary voters in New Hampshire. And we'll move on to South Carolina shortly thereafter. And what our mission is to continue to introduce ourselves to them, but most importantly to outwork the competition, which we are, and out-organize them. And so we're certainly not driven by national polls. We're not driven by any polls in September. What we're driven by is making sure we're built for the long haul. And if you peel back the onion in Iowa and you look at what's on the precipice for us in New Hampshire, we've got the organization. We've hit 58 of Iowa's 99 counties already, and we'll be close to 75 or 80 by the end of next month. That's the kind of hard work, dedication, and organization that it's going to actually take to defeat Donald Trump in Iowa and take him on in New Hampshire and defeat him there, too. And we're well on our path there. So tonight's, again, a great opportunity to drive our message to those voters, but it's not the only opportunity because we are the one candidate that is hitting the ground and seeing them one-on-one in every part of Iowa and soon to be again in New Hampshire.
And we keep hearing about Iowa and New Hampshire from you in these early voting states, but you're debating tonight in California. How do you take this message to Californians?
Well, look, I think it's really exciting to be in this state, especially with, interestingly, Governor Newsom agreeing to debate Governor DeSantis here, in a couple of months, in a different format. And so I think you see sharp contrast between the two states, and it's actually a great opportunity for us and Governor DeSantis to tell the Florida story, the #1 economy in the state, how he's paid down 25% of Florida's debt already, how he cut taxes and used his governorship to even push down on any spending bills that came his way that were in excess. And that's a sharp contrast, not just to what you see here in California, but what you see in Washington from both parties. And that's a great opportunity to contrast right here in this state.
And it's clear that you do not see this upcoming debate with Governor Gavin Newsom as a distraction to your campaign. DeSantis, though, no matter what, is still trailing the clear frontrunner in Donald Trump by double digits, and some polls have actually showed that gap widening. So what are you doing there to catch up?
I think if you pay attention to where it matters the most, again, national polls, we haven't found the national primary date on the calendar yet. So when we focus in on Iowa and New Hampshire, which are the two first contests, you actually look at where we are at historically. You saw some public polls yesterday that put us in the low 20s in Iowa and in second place, and in second place again in New Hampshire as well. And what you're seeing is at this point, when Mike Huckabee was trying to vie for the Iowa caucus, he was still in the 6 to 7% range. And when Ted Cruz won it in 2016, at this point, he was about 8% in the polls. So sitting at 21% is a great place for us to be at this moment. And I can assure you with our organization, with the hard work of the governor and his efforts, not just to hit every 99 county, but go back to as many as possible after that, we're going to do what no other campaign is going to do, and that's going to be to earn the trust of Iowa caucus goers in every corner in the state. And no other candidate is going to come close to matching us. And even the former president has ceded that fertile ground to us, and he will pay the political price on January 15th.
All right, David Polansky, Deputy Campaign Manager for Ron DeSantis. Really appreciate your time with us tonight. Thank you so much. I want to now bring our big story to our panel. So joining us today, ABC News contributor and Sirius XM radio host Mike Muse, ABC News political contributor and former Democratic Senator from North Dakota, Heidi Heitkamp, and ABC News contributor and former Republican Virginia Congresswoman Barbara Comstock, and ABC News contributor Asma Khalid. Thank you so much for being here with us. So, Asma, starting with you, what are your thoughts on what you just heard there from the deputy campaign manager? Does the governor seem to have a winning strategy at this debate? I mean, he kept saying it's not about moments, but that is what people key in on the day after.
I was struck by the fact that he kept talking about this current campaign as if it's an actual open Republican primary. And the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump is and has the benefits of being a presidential incumbent. Sure, he's not the current president, but he has those benefits that a normal incumbent does. And so ultimately, I think the challenge for all candidates tonight that are not Donald Trump is they are fundamentally running out of time to compete against Trump. There is not a lot of time left, and I think the real challenge is there's not a whole lot of historical precedent for a candidate to be down by such large margins and ultimately come out to be the nominee, especially not when they're competing against an incumbent.
And Barbara, to you, DeSantis, can he close this gap at all? It seems like he's going after just a smaller slice of the pie entirely, and you kept hearing they are laser focused on Iowa.
Yeah, well, I totally disagreed with him on it's not about moments. I mean, everyone remembers when, Ronald Reagan said, I paid for this microphone. And, the moment in the first debate that was sort of indicative of DeSantis's problems is when they asked who would vote for a convicted felon, if Trump's convicted, DeSantis was looking around to see who else was going to vote. And of course, it was a great moment for Chris Christie because he said, no, I'm not going to vote for him. Another great moment was for Nikki Haley schooling Vivek, saying, on Ukraine. So of course, debates are about moments. And the moments that these candidates need are moments where they're going to go after Donald Trump because he's not there, and you need to go after the guy if you want to be the guy. And these candidates who aren't going to go after him, I mean, Chris Christie clearly is, but if you're not going to go after him, you're not going to be the guy.
And Heidi, to you, what about Democrats? I mean, how do they watch all of this unfold at these debates, the arguments being had, and the people that don't show up? How do Democrats look at that?
Well, I think when you're a Democrat, you're watching it to see if any of these candidates can kind of break through and really take out what I agree with is an incumbent. I mean, this is a race against an incumbent. And when you're not willing, as Barbara said, to throw some tough punches, you just aren't going to punch through. And the thing about DeSantis is everybody has such high hopes for him. My Republican friends were pointing at him saying, he's the guy, he's the one who's going to be our nominee. And first impressions in politics, when you step on that stage for the first time and you kind of blow it, it's really hard to recover. And I think when he says it's not about moments, he better have a moment tonight, or he's not going to be really an effective challenger to an incumbent president, Donald Trump.
And Mike, to you, what do the voters want to hear? I keep thinking about the moderate voters tonight. What are they going to be looking for during this debate?
I mean, I don't know if it's a setup or not, but you always give me such great questions. I was hoping I would get that because I think there is a possibility for Nikki Haley in this moment. I think Nikki Haley has proven that she is strong. She is willing to go after former President Trump. She has the most nuanced viewpoints on all the traditional Republican issues that traditional Republican voters care about, but she's also too willing to move that positioning into the center. And so I think with tonight's performance, if she can stick to the same formula that she did in the last debate, go at President Trump directly, go at Vivek Ramaswamy as well, intentionally indirect, add nuance, show intellect, and show a well-formed opinion on it, as she did the last time, I think she will be one of the breakouts. In particular, if she can lean in tonight to Ukraine. I'm curious to see how does Nikki Haley on the debate stage discuss Ukraine, as it is both related to geopolitics, to which she described in the last debate, but also to tie it into our government potential shutdown come October the 1st. I think she can pull together a nuanced message to bring independence and the moderating the Republican Party together to build momentum. So I think it's going to be her night.
She was certainly a standout in the last debate, that is for sure. Some people think it is hers to lose. Mike Muse, Heidi Heitkamp, Barbara Comstock, Asma Khalid, thank you so much, and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our panel here soon.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.